See, that's what I think the real test is. Everyone thinks heaven is about halos and singing, but I think it's about patience. Eternal patience. You're sitting there for the rest of time with no connection, no updates, no notifications. That's the real challenge. They're up there watching you sweat it out. Oh, let's see how he handles being off Facebook for a couple of centuries. That's the real judgment. Forget the 10 Commandments. Can you live without refreshing your feed every 30 seconds? That's the measure of a soul. And it's funny, they always say heaven is full of peace and joy. But let me tell you something, peace and joy last about 10 minutes before you need a distraction. Think about the last vacation you took. First day, you're thrilled. Oh, the beach is beautiful, the sun is shining, this is paradise. By day 3, you're staring at your phone on 3G, desperately trying to find a signal just to check if your neighbor posted another picture of his dinner. That's heaven in a nutshell. Paradise with bad reception. And don't try to tell me heaven doesn't have room for a little technology. They've already got the cloud. They brag about it. The whole place is a giant cloud. Don't tell me you can't string a few antennas up there. Yeah, if Earth can beam a signal off a satellite in the 60s, heaven can figure out how to get 2 bars, but they don't. And you know why? Because they like watching you squirm. That's their entertainment. Angels don't need sitcoms. They've got you trying to connect to divine Wi-Fi and failing. They're up there laughing. Look at this poor bastard, been dead for 300 years and still tapping his phone like it's gonna change something. And here's another thing. They say heaven is timeless, right? No clocks, no days, no nights, just eternity. Well, guess what? Without time, there's no schedule. Without a schedule, there's no service plan. Without a service plan, you don't get Wi-Fi. There it is. They loopholed it. Oh, sorry, we don't have plans here because everything is infinite. Oh, infinite boredom is what it is. Infinite staring at the same harp player who hasn't learned a new tune since the Crusades. You know how they say the meek shall inherit the earth. Yeah, well, the rich are inheriting the bandwidth. That's why hell probably has better Wi-Fi. Think about it. Hell is full of lawyers, bankers, and tech guys. You can bet they got Wi-Fi down there. High speed, too. Sure, it's probably locked behind a paywall, but at least they've got it. You'd probably get better reception in a fire pit than you do on a cloud. At least the flames double as a hot spot. In heaven, your best bet for a signal is holding your phone up during choir practice and hoping the Hallelujah chorus acts like an antenna. And don't tell me the saints don't miss it. You think St. Francis wouldn't love to stream some nature documentaries? You think St. Peter wouldn't like to check his email once in a while? You think Moses wouldn't be on eBay looking up tablets? Of course they would. They're human. They had human brains. Just because they're floating in eternity doesn't mean they forgot how annoying it is to have nothing to do. You can only polish your halo so many times before you start wishing you could download a game of Tetris. That's the dirty little secret nobody tells you. Heaven isn't about eternal bliss. It's about eternal minimalism. You get the bare essentials. Light, love, a harp, maybe a white robe that never stains, and that's it. No upgrades, no extras, no bonus features. It's like buying the cheapest cable package. 20 channels of nothing but hymns and sunsets. Meanwhile, you're sitting there thinking, man, maybe reincarnation wouldn't have been so bad. At least I could have come back with a Netflix account. And of course, the angels always justify it with the same smug line. Well, you don't need technology when you're connected to the source. Yeah. Well, the source could use a stronger signal. Because I don't feel very connected when I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs for eternity, listening to the 50th verse of a holy crazy, but a little Wi-Fi wouldn't kill the vibe. Might even improve it. You know what it really is. Oh? It's a control thing. They don't want you distracted. They don't want you wandering off into Wikipedia at 2 a.m. learning about obscure cheeses. They want you focused on them. Sounds noble until you realize it's the same excuse every bad parent uses. Oh no, we don't need a television. We'll just sit around the table and talk. Yeah, sure. Until the talking runs out and now you're staring at each other wondering who's gonna blink first. That's heaven. A never-ending family dinner without a television in sight. And that's why I say the Celestial Tech Department is underfunded. Because it's not about money, it's about priorities. And their priority isn't your comfort. Their priority is keeping the lights on, keeping the choir in tune, keeping the pearly gates shiny, and making sure you don't realize you're just sitting in the world's fanciest waiting room. That's all it is. An eternal waiting room with no magazines, no television, and no Wi-Fi. Huh? And if that doesn't sound like hell, I don't know what does. They always tell you heaven is pure bliss, eternal happiness, the whole package deal. No bills, no traffic, no taxes, no hemorrhoids. Everything's just perfect. That's the ad campaign. And the best part, you don't need Wi-Fi, you don't need cable, you don't need movies, music, nothing. Because they say eternity itself is enough. You just bask in it like a lizard on a rock, and you're supposed to be happy with that forever. No distractions, no gadgets, no wires. Just you and happiness till the end of time, which, by the way, never ends. Sounds peaceful, sure. But have you ever actually tried being happy with nothing else going on? Try sitting in a chair, smiling, doing nothing, for 5 minutes. By the 3rd minute, you're thinking, I could really go for a sandwich. By the 5th minute, you're wondering if your neighbor is still mowing his lawn. That's humanity. We can't just sit and be happy. We need stuff. We need clutter. We need noise. That's why I laugh when they say you won't need bandwidth in heaven. Of course you do. You think happiness runs on its own power source? You think you can coast on pure joy forever without some kind of distraction? That's not how people work. People need things to keep them occupied. Even monks need beads. Even monks need chants. Nobody, and I mean nobody, can sit on a cloud for eternity humming hymns and not lose their mind. Not unless they're heavily medicated, and I don't think they're handing out Xanax at the pearly gates. The way they describe heaven, it's basically the world's longest meditation session. And let me tell you something, most people can't sit through 5 minutes of meditation without sneaking a peek at their phone. Empty your mind. Oh, focus on your breath. Yeah, right. Meanwhile, your brain is screaming, did I leave the oven on in 1983? That's how eternity feels. Eternal happiness with no distractions sounds great on paper, but in practice you're sitting there going, I wonder what's on TV, and then you realize nothing. There is no TV. The only show in heaven is harp music, sunsets, and eternal grinning. And you know why they sell it that way? Because they know people will buy it. People love the idea of simplicity. They love the idea of just being happy with nothing. But in reality, people get bored with paradise faster than you think. You give someone paradise, and within a week they're filing a complaint. It's too bright. The harps are out of tune. Can we get some variety in the clouds? That's how people are. You can give them eternal bliss, and they'll still ask for the Wi-Fi password. Because eternal happiness doesn't fill the same hole as scrolling through pictures of someone else's lunch. And think about it, they say there's no jealousy, no anger, no envy, no pain in heaven. Which sounds nice, but that's half of what keeps people entertained. People love comparing themselves to other people. That's why reality TV exists. That's why gossip magazines exist. That's why you slow down at car accidents. People want drama. You take away drama, you take away half the entertainment. Eternal happiness. That's like turning off the news and only playing the Weather Channel. Forever. Yeah, it's nice for a while, but eventually you're begging for a scandal. Give me a little envy, a little rivalry, something to spice it up. Otherwise, it's just happy, happy, happy until your brain dribbles out of your ears. And don't forget, heaven's happiness isn't optional. It's mandatory. You can't have a bad day in heaven. You can't wake up cranky. You can't tell an angel to shut up because it's too early for singing. You're stuck in this permanent grin like someone stapled your mouth into a smile. That's not happiness, that's customer service training. You ever see those people at Disneyland who have to smile all day no matter how they feel? That's heaven. Eternal Disneyland employee energy, except without the Wi-Fi to sneak a cigarette break. And the whole thing about not needing bandwidth, please. Happiness and distraction go hand in hand. That's why Earth invented entertainment in the first place. You think gladiators were fighting lions in Rome because people were spiritually fulfilled? No, they were bored. You think Shakespeare wrote all those plays because people were floating in eternal bliss? No, they needed a story, some drama, some betrayal, some jokes about dirty hands. Humans invented all of that because happiness on its own wasn't enough. It never has been. So when someone tells me eternal happiness doesn't need bandwidth, I just laugh. Sure it doesn't, until about the 10th century of nothing happening. Then you're begging for a rerun of Gilligan's Island. And let's talk about eternity. You know how long eternity is. It's forever. Not 1,000 years, not 1 billion, not even 1 trillion. Forever. And you're telling me that forever, all you need is a harp and a smile. Get out of here. People complain about waiting in line for 5 minutes at the DMV. People lose their minds if the movie trailers last too long before the feature starts. And you're telling me they're going to sit in eternal happiness without bandwidth. No way. Humans aren't built for that. Humans are built to get annoyed, get distracted, complain, and demand refunds. That's what keeps us going. Take all that away, and you've got a bunch of smiling zombies sitting on clouds, humming to themselves. And you know what really gets me? They always make it sound like eternal happiness is some high-level state of mind, like you're finally enlightened. But really, it's just the absence of problems, that's it. No problems. And people think that'll be enough. But it's not. Because problems are half the fun. Problems give you stories. Problems give you character. Problems give you jokes. Without problems, you don't have happiness. You have nothing. You're not happy, you're just blank. You're not even alive anymore. You're just neutral. Eternal happiness isn't joy, it's sedation. You're a cosmic lab rat that's been pumped full of spiritual Prozac, staring at a wall for eternity, telling yourself you like it. So yeah, they'll tell you happiness doesn't need bandwidth, but deep down you know it does. Happiness without a little chaos, without a little distraction, without some cat videos or a good movie or even an old-fashioned argument is just empty space. And empty space, no matter how golden the streets are, gets boring fast. That's the dirty little secret. Heaven's the ultimate minimalist package. It's just you, a smile, and eternity. No upgrades, no apps, no streaming, no notifications, just eternal happiness. And if you can convince yourself that's enough, good for you. But me, I'd still be looking for the Wi-Fi signal. They always tell you the reason there's no Wi-Fi in heaven is because you don't need it. You don't need to connect to anything because you're already plugged into the source. The big connection. Direct line, no buffering, no lag, that's what they promise. Sounds nice, right? Until you realize nobody ever tells you what that connection actually looks like. They just say it's perfect. And let me tell you something. Anytime somebody tells you something is a perfect, it means they don't want to answer your question. So supposedly in heaven you don't need routers, you don't need signals, you don't need 5 bars, you're always connected. And you know what? That actually sounds exhausting. On Earth, you at least get to turn off your phone once in a while. You get to unplug. You get to say, oh sorry, battery died, couldn't talk to you. In heaven, no such luck, you're eternally online, constantly connected to the big guy. Every thought you have goes straight to customer service. No filter, no mute button, no do not disturb. You're permanently subscribed to the divine feed. And you're supposed to be happy about it. They say it's the ultimate connection, better than any technology humans ever made. And maybe that's true, but let's not act like technology hasn't done some good. On Earth, you can at least choose who you connect with. You can block your ex. You can unfollow your cousin who won't shut up about essential oils. You can mute the guy from high school who posts 40 pictures of his lunch. In heaven, no blocking. No muting, everyone's connected all the time. Eternity is basically one giant group chat you can't leave. And if you think group chats on Earth are annoying, just imagine one with billions of souls. Billions? Every saint, every martyr, every guy who ever asked for extra ketchup at McDonald's, all of them in the same thread, and guess what? Notifications are eternal. You think you're sick of hearing a ding every time someone posts? Wait until eternity. You'll be begging for Wi-Fi just so you can turn it off. But you can't. You're hardwired. The divine connection doesn't have an off switch, and don't tell me there's no lag. They always say it's instant. Yeah, maybe. But I don't trust it. Even God's got to be running this on Windows somewhere. You're telling me the whole universe is on one system and it never freezes. Come on, somewhere some angel is stuck waiting for a spinning hourglass. Please wait. Eternity is updating. Do not turn off your soul. But here's the thing. People love the idea of being connected to something bigger. It makes them feel safe. Oh, I'm part of the source now. But you ever notice how being connected to something bigger usually means being swallowed up by it? You don't get more power. You just get less individuality. On Earth, when you plug into the internet, you don't become powerful. You just become one more schmuck in the comments section. Heaven's the same deal. The ultimate connection just means you're permanently logged into the eternal Facebook of the cosmos. And your profile picture is you looking confused in a robe. And don't tell me there aren't ads. Oh, there's ads. They'll say, no, heaven's pure, no ads, no money. Yeah, right. You're telling me the same people who invented tithing aren't going to slip an ad in somewhere. You'll be sitting on a cloud, enjoying your eternal sunshine, and suddenly you'll hear this hallelujah chorus brought to you by holy water. Hydrate the righteous way. Don't laugh. They'll find a way. Eternity's a long time to go without product placements. And you know what else? They say once you're connected, you'll never feel lonely again. Which sounds beautiful. Except loneliness isn't always bad. Sometimes you want to be left alone. Sometimes you want to walk into a room and not have anyone talking to you. But in heaven, you can't. You're always connected. There's always someone pinging you, always someone praying at you, always someone looking to chat. That's not heaven. That's Verizon on steroids. And the weirdest part is they call it the ultimate connection like it's some prize. But isn't part of being human the fact that sometimes you're disconnected? Sometimes you're lost, sometimes you're searching. And yeah, it sucks, but it also makes life interesting. If you're always connected, always plugged into the divine source, where's the mystery? Where's the adventure? You already know everything, eternal spoilers. You wake up in heaven and it's like someone handed you the last page of every book ever written. And you're supposed to be happy? No surprises, no questions, no wondering, just infinite connection. That's not Lats now. That's one long phone call you can't hang up. And think about the pressure. On Earth, if your internet drops, you get mad for a few minutes, maybe restart the router. In heaven, if you lose the connection, that's it. Game over. Oh, sorry, you've been disconnected from God. Please restart eternity. That's why they don't give you routers. They don't trust you not to mess it up. Humans can barely handle downloading a PDF, and now you want to be connected to the entire fabric of existence? Forget it. That's why it's mandatory. You don't get a choice. You don't get to log out. You're locked in forever. So yeah, they'll tell you it's the ultimate connection, better than Wi-Fi, better than satellites, better than anything Earth ever came up with. And maybe it is, but don't confuse the ultimate with a fun. Ultimate just means there's no alternative. You're in, you're stuck, and you can't complain to customer support. Because guess what? Customer support is the guy who wrote the universe, and good luck getting a refund out of him. That's the ultimate connection. Eternal, unavoidable, unbreakable. Sounds holy, sure, but me? I'd still prefer a router with an off switch. You ever notice how in heaven they tell you everything is transparent? No secrets, no lies, no hidden files. It's all out in the open. Total purity. Which sounds nice until you realize what that actually means. No privacy, none. You think Google is nosy, wait until you get upstairs. Up there, you don't even have a password. Forget about incognito mode. Forget about deleting your history. Every search you ever made, every thought you ever had, it's all right there on display. Eternal exposure. And you're supposed to be fine with that. Now they say, don't worry, there's no judgment in heaven. Oh, sure. Maybe not from God. But don't tell me St. Peter isn't sneaking a peek at your mental bookmarks while you're waiting at the gate. You're standing in line with a million other souls, and some angel is scrolling through your life like it's a highlight reel. Oh, look, 1998. Spent 3 hours looking up whether turtles can breathe through their butts. That's your legacy, kid. And you can't even deny it because it's right there in your eternal history. Heaven is basically one big server farm, and you don't control the login, and that's why there's no Wi-Fi. Because if there was Wi-Fi, you'd never stop embarrassing yourself. Imagine eternity with access to search engines, but no privacy. Every dumb thing you type gets projected on a cosmic screen. God, why do farts smell different in the shower? God, how do I make my dog like me more than my wife? You think angels want to watch that? No, so they cut you off at the source. Divine privacy policy. No data collection because they already collected everything. And you can't even unsubscribe. You ever read one of those privacy agreements on Earth? You know the kind. Pages and pages of legal garbage nobody ever reads. You just scroll down and hit the I agree because you want to use the damn app. That's the afterlife. The biggest I agree button you ever pressed in your life. Except in heaven, you don't get to hit decline. You're automatically opted in. They already know what you did, who you did it with, how often, and whether or not you enjoyed it. That's the ultimate fine print. If you think Apple's tracking you, Apple looks like a Boy Scout compared to the big guy. At least with Apple, you can turn off location services. With God, your location is eternity, and there's no off switch. And they make it sound noble like, here, you're finally free. No more secrets, no more shame, but let me tell you something. Sometimes secrets are good. No. Secrets keep you sane. You don't want everybody knowing every thought in your head. Half the fun of being alive is pretending to be better than you are. You smile at your neighbor, wave politely, and meanwhile you're thinking, I hope his lawnmower explodes. That's humanity, that's balance. But in heaven there's no filter. It's all right there, eternal honesty. Which isn't bliss, it's exposure therapy. And imagine the awkward reunions. You run into your grandma in heaven and she already knows every lie you ever told her. So you weren't sick that day I baked cookies. You were out drinking. Great. Eternity just became an endless guilt trip. Your mother's up there too with every dirty joke you ever told underlined in red. Eternal happiness, but first an infinite slideshow of your worst moments. And you can't delete anything. Heaven has no recycling. Everything you ever thought is on a hard drive with infinite storage. That's why heaven's privacy policy is so genius. They don't need cookies. They don't need tracking. They don't need microphones listening in your house. They got the whole feed lit. Every thought, every whisper, every guilty pleasure. It's in the cloud. And not the digital cloud, the literal cloud, the one you're standing on. Which makes me think, what if the clouds are just storage devices? What if you're not standing on mist, you're standing on servers? That's why they don't let you sit down. You might accidentally delete the book of life. And here's the kicker, they say in heaven there's no shame, no embarrassment. Which is great in theory, but if you've ever had one of those moments where your brain reminds you of something stupid you did 10 years ago, you know shame doesn't just disappear. You think you're going to be free of that in eternity? No, it'll be worse. You'll be sitting on a cloud minding your own business, and suddenly the cosmic projector will replay that time you called your teacher a mom in front of the class. Forever. Eternal happiness, interrupted by an infinite blooper reel of your life. That's divine comedy, literally. And let's not forget, if there's no privacy, there's also no lying. You can't make yourself look better in heaven. On earth, you get away with little lies. Oh yeah, I only had one drink. Oh yeah, I always recycle in heaven. Nope, they know you didn't rinse the jar. They know you left the beer cans in the back seat. They know you lied about flossing. It's all there. Your dentist died 20 years ago, and now he's standing in heaven shaking his head at you. You said you flossed, didn't you? That's eternity, people you lied to showing up with receipts. And you know the worst part, no excuses. On earth, you always had an excuse traffic was bad. The dog ate it. The alarm didn't go off. In heaven, none of that works. They know traffic wasn't bad. They know the dog didn't eat it. They know you hit snooze. The jig is up, Eternal Truth Serum. No lies, no spin, no alternative facts. Just the raw data. And believe me, nobody looks good in raw data. So when they tell you heaven has the best privacy policy, don't believe it. It's not privacy, it's exposure. The only reason you don't get spammed with ads is because they don't need ads. They already own you. You're not the customer. You're the product. Eternity is the service, and you're locked in with no refund policy. You can't cancel. You can't unsubscribe, and you sure as hell can't clear your browsing history. That's the divine privacy policy. No opt-outs, no complaints, no fine print. Just full access forever. And if you think that's comforting, you've never accidentally Googled something stupid at 3 in the morning.